There's nothing average about Dorset. Everything is an extreme in one way or another.
In one of our areas, we have the highest elderly population in Europe.
Dorset County Council spends around about £97 million on adult social care. Now, unfortunately, we spend probably about half of that on residential care. We'd much rather spend the money on supporting people to live independently at home.
In this programme, we'll see how commissioners and providers are working together in Dorset to address the challenges posed by personalisation by way of two new projects, a fund to support small providers and an umbrella group for user-led organisations.
We're now looking at all sorts of innovative ways to make sure that people can have their individual needs met. The process has given us permission to take some risks, to look at what outcomes can be that are so different for people.
It's been a real experience and a real eye-opener, I have to say.
You want to do that? Okay. Owen, do you want to do the apples? Okay, do you want to get rid of that lot?
Some here.
Yeah, they're quite good at hiding themselves.
With £200,000 set aside by the County Council, the Dorset Social Care Innovation Fund seed funds small, independent providers with the aim of nurturing a diverse local market so that people with personal budgets get a genuine choice in the services they can access. The fund has already started to bear fruit, not least for one project in the town of Bridport.
The project's only been going a few months, but it came about because I've had an allotment for quite a few years now. I've also been working with adults with a learning disability for a few years, and I thought I would marry the two together. The New Ground project is trying to reconnect people with a learning disability with the food that they're eating. So the idea is that they watch the seed go into the soil, they watch it grow, they nurture it, they water it, they harvest it, and then have the opportunity to cook it. They're looking okay?
Yeah.
The idea is that we try to stimulate the market to respond to the challenges of personalisation through offering choice, flexibility and something a bit different that adults with disabilities may want to access.
The community make bids into us to demonstrate how they can meet specific needs, how they can provide real support into that micro market and offer what we need to be offering.
Initially I was going to fund the project myself through personal investment, but I then heard about the Social Innovation Fund. £2,000 allowed us to build the tool shed and the shelter. We're going to get a polytunnel, which is going to help create an all year round sort of growing space. We could be looking at having some chickens here. I guess there's no limits to what we could do. We can save in a pot and plant them in the ground next season.
Okay.
We'll make a pile of them there and then we'll store them over the winter and plant them in the spring. Sitting around, having a cuppa, sitting in the sunshine, chatting, I mean that's all part of it as well.
Tim's aim is that eventually the project will be entirely funded by personal budgets. Two of the first people to use their personal budgets to spend time on the allotment are Owen and Anthony.
But people come here before starting in May. I like reading and stuff. I like making shares and stuff. I like it very much because I like to work here.
We're right in the middle of town here. These people are the people that they're going to be walking past every day. And it's very important that they can walk past someone, might get a cheery wave or a smile, they feel more connected to the community that they're living in and participating in.
A key feature of the Innovation Fund is that the panel which assesses applications consists mainly of service users and carers themselves.
Mine's a mental health disability, and then we've other people in wheelchairs and such like. And we all bring our sensitivities to the panel and share them with each other.
If anything, I think those individuals are a lot tougher on those applications, are very precise about what they're looking for, and are very challenging, because ultimately they've been recipients of our services, or they could be recipients of our services, and they can talk with passion, knowledge and experience.
It allows me to, as a service user, to actually put something back into the society, and especially the local society that's looked after me so well.
Welcome welcome to Woofability. This is our lounge. They're always very welcoming and talkative, as you can hear.
On the other side of the county, the Innovation Fund is supporting an idea born of one couple's personal experience of disability.
I had an accident some 28 years ago, and when I came out of hospital, having broken my back, we had a pet retriever, and instinctively she started to do things for me, and then I started to train her to try and do more as well. I said to Andy, if we can do this for me, you know, it must be something we could do for other people as well.
18 months ago, Andy and Jenny put their idea into practice and started their own charity.
Woofability was an application that we received in the early days of the Innovation Panel, and the idea of the dogs was not only to provide practical help within the home, but it was also to provide an outlet for that person to actually get out into the social world and to care for another being, really.
We now have 19 dogs in training.
And all the training to start with is done by ourselves in-house, and then we rely on people that look after the dogs from time to time for us, and they go out into the society and actually mix with lots of people.
And everything is done on a voluntary basis. We don't have any staff or anything like that.
And within the next 6 to 8 months, our first dog will be going out to somebody, some very lucky person who is disabled, and it's going to change their life. Because you're disabled doesn't mean to say you don't go to the theatre on your own, or a restaurant, or go swimming. Our dogs have been through every different walk of life, so that when that disabled person takes that dog on and they form a bond with the dog is already socialised in every place that that person might want to go.
The Innovation Panel granted Woofability £5,000 of seed funding, which Andy and Jenny have invested in marketing and developing their own breeding programme, with the long-term aim of funding the dogs through self-directed support.
Well, this is Monty, and he's doing a lot at the moment. He's picking up the post and answering things for me, and answering the door, picking up the phone. Monty, come here, good boy. Here, Monty. And but at later stages, they do all sorts of things. They can help someone get in and out of bed. They can pull up a duvet. They take the washing out of the washing machine. And they press the button at traffic lights to cross over the lights as well and take money out of the wall. They're not so good at remembering PIN numbers, but they will take the money from the wall. Pull, Monty, pull, Monty, pull, pull, Monty. Hey, good boy, Monty, good boy.
As well as providing practical help to disabled people, the dogs will have a social function too.
If you're in a wheelchair, as you can see I am, and when you go out and about, particularly if you've got a carer with you that's pushing you, people tend to speak over your head to your carer. So much so, my first experience was going into a shop and saying to somebody, oh, I'll have some apples. And the lady looked over my head to my mother and said, would she like red ones or green ones? Now, when I go out with a dog, and I've got a dog with me, people come up to me, and it's not, they still don't speak to me, they speak to the dog now instead. But they want to come and talk to see what my dog does.
Making that shift to that micro market, to a large market where you're purchasing in, you've got all of the formalities of an organisation that should be able to deliver for you. There's some real risks associated with that, which we've recognised, but the Innovation Fund process has given us permission to take some risks. It's given us permission to look at what outcomes can be that are so different for people, and it's given us a way of managing that without putting everything at risk.
A separate project being pioneered in Dorset is an attempt to improve the capacity of the county's user-led organisations.
I asked a number of user-led organisations across Dorset to come into a meeting, and very much threw that open on the table to say, how can we work in partnership to actually deliver?
One of those user-led organisations was a disability group based in a leisure centre in Bournemouth.
What quickly became clear was we all have limited capacities. That's one of the things that I guess defines user-led organisations. We're good at what we do, but we tend to be quite small.
Between us, the user-led organisations have an awful lot more clout. Between us, we've got a turnover of in excess of 1.4 million, and we've got a joint membership of 4,000 disabled people and carers.
What was decided was to use their combined resources to create a virtual centre for independent living called Access Dorset. The user-led organisations decided among themselves that DOTS Disability should coordinate the project.
We're in the middle of building a website at the moment where people will be able to get into a dialogue about what they want to do with direct payments, what kind of services they want to see developed. We hope that we'll have people putting in pieces about, okay, I went for a meal last night. What was it like in terms of accessibility? But let's keep a fun element to this as well. What was the food like? What was the atmosphere like? We want this website to become basically the people's website for anything relating to disability across Dorset.
From me, in terms of a commissioner, I provide support advice, hopefully timely support and advice, and keep them very clear about the direction of travel. The design and the ongoing progress of that project is very much left to the user-led organisations.
Alongside the County Council, Dorset comprises 2 unitary authorities and 2 primary care trusts, with inevitable funding complications.
My post is funded by Dorset County Council for 2 years, but in this first year we also achieved funding from the Department of Health, which was match funded by Dorset, Bournemouth and Poole councils, which makes a lot of sense to us because there are lots of people that live, for instance, in places like Christchurch that access services in Bournemouth and vice versa. So for us, those local authority boundaries aren't so important, I guess.
It's really important when we're trying to encourage a micro market as well as dealing with our major suppliers, as currently are, that they can work across our boundaries. Because underlying all of this push to personalisation, all the enthusiasm that goes with there has to be the practical ability to deliver services and to keep them sustainable.
Dorset Advocacy are another user-led body contributing to Access Dorset.
We're now having the public launch of Access Dorset in January.
Yes.
Whilst every organisation will have an opportunity to promote its own unique specialisms and expertise.
For us, being part of the Access Dorset network means that we're tuned in to what service users are saying about what they want from services, from advocacy, and that we're hearing those messages and not just being driven by what we think people want, by what our funders think people want.
We're not looking to create a merger. It's a real challenge to be working with all of those different organisations that have different interests and points of contact.
It's about sharing our expertise, sharing our knowledge, sharing our training, sharing our back office functions, and that way we can be a lot more efficient and a lot more powerful.
While the power to deliver services is being dispersed across Dorset, the commissioners remain aware of their responsibilities.
We need to make sure we're getting value for money. Very difficult when you're commissioning something that's perhaps unique or hasn't been done in that way before and is untested.
What we need to do is learn to listen to the sector who are specialists and combine that with our own knowledge.
Enabling that creativity to happen and handing over the power in some circumstances to make sure that we really are getting what people need.